Hello, Year 5. Hope you're all doing well. Today we'll be doing comprehension of Chapter 5 from Matilda. Please make sure you've got a paper and a pencil ready and remember to write full complete answers. You can always pause the video to get some more time and have a read or finish your answers and then play back when you're ready for the next question. Here we go. Arithmetic. Matilda longed for her parents to be good and loving and understanding and honorable and intelligent. The fact that they were none of these things was something she had to put up with. It was not easy to do so, but the new game she had invented of punishing one or both of them each time they were beastly to her made her life more or less bearable. Being very small and very young, the only power Matilda had over anyone in her family was brain power. For sheer cleverness, she could run rings around them all. But the fact remained that any 5-year-old girl in any family was always obliged to do as she was told, however asinine the orders might be. Thus, she was always forced to eat her evening meals out of TV dinner trays in front of the dreaded box. She always had to stay alone on weekday afternoons, and whenever she was told to shut up, she had to shut up. Question 1. What does the word asinine mean? I'll repeat my question. What does the word asinine mean? You can pause the video, have a read, and write your answer. Question 2. What did Matilda do to help her feel better whenever her parents were unfair or beastly to her? I'll repeat my question. What did Matilda do to help her feel better whenever her parents were unfair or beastly to her? Next question. Find and copy one word that shows that Matilda did not enjoy her evening meal. You can pause the video, have a read, and then find and copy one word that shows that Matilda did not enjoy her evening meal. This time, for this question, I'm looking for that one word. Okay, let's carry on. Her safety valve, the thing that prevented her from going round the bend, was the fun of devising and dishing out these splendid punishments, and the lovely thing was that they seemed to work, at any rate for short periods. The father in particular became less cocky and unbearable for several days after receiving a dose of Matilda's magic medicine. My next question is, what does the term safety valve mean in this paragraph? What does the term safety valve mean in this paragraph? Have a think and write down your answer. The parrot in the chimney affair quite definitely cooled both parents down a lot, and for over a week they were comparatively civil to their small daughter. But alas, this couldn't last. The next flare-up came one evening in the sitting room. Mr. Wormwood had just returned from work. Matilda and her brother were sitting quietly on the sofa waiting for their mother to bring in the TV dinners on a tray. The television had not yet been switched on. In came Mr. Wormwood in a loud check suit and a yellow tie. The appalling broad orange and green check of the jacket and trousers almost blinded the onlooker. He looked like a low-grade bookmaker dressed up for his daughter's wedding, and he was clearly very pleased with himself this evening. He sat down in an armchair and rubbed his hands together and addressed his son in a loud voice. "Well, my boy," he said, Your father's had a most successful day. He is a lot richer tonight than he was this morning. He has sold no less than 5 cars, each one at a tidy profit, sawdust in the gearboxes, the electric drill on the speedometer cables, a splash of paint here and there, and a few other clever little tricks, and the idiots were all falling over themselves to buy. My next question is, why was Mr. Wormwood in a good mood? Why was Mr. Wormwood in a good mood? Pause the video, have a read, and write down your answer. He fished a bit of paper from his pocket and studied it. Listen, boy, he said, addressing the son and ignoring Matilda. Seeing as you'll be going into this business with me one day, you've got to know how to add up the profits, and you've got to know how to add up the profits you make at the end of the day. Go and get yourself a pad and a pencil, and let's see how clever you are. The son obediently left the room and returned with the writing materials. Write down these figures, the father said, reading from his bit of paper. Car number 1 was bought by me for £278 and sold for 1,425. Got that? Okay, my next question. Why was Mr. Wormwood trying to teach his son arithmetic? Why was Mr. Wormwood trying to teach his son arithmetic? Have a read and then write down the answer. The 10-year-old boy wrote the 2 separate amounts down slowly and carefully. Car number 2, the father went on, cost me £118 and sold for 760. Got it? Yes, Dad, the son said. I've got that. Car number 3 cost £111 and sold for £999.50. Say that again, the son said. How much did it sell for? £999.50, the father said. And that, by the way, is another of my nifty little tricks to diddle the customer. Never ask for a big round figure. Always go just below it. Never say £1,000. Always say £999.50. It sounds much less, but it isn't. Clever, isn't it? Very, the son said. You're brilliant, Dad. Car number 4 cost £860. Sorry, car number 4 cost £86. A real wreck that was, and sold for £699.50. Okay, my next question is, what does the word nifty mean? What does the word nifty mean? Not too fast, the son said, writing the numbers down. Right, I've got it. Car number 5 cost £637 and sold for £1,649.50. You've got all those figures written down, son. Yes, Daddy, the boy said, crouching over his pad and carefully writing. Very well, the father said. Now work out the profit I made on each of the 5 cars and add up the total. Then you'll be able to tell me how much money your rather brilliant father made altogether today. That's a lot of sums, the boy said. Of course it's a lot of sums, the father answered. But when you're in big business, like I am, you've got to be hot stuff in arithmetic. I've practically got a computer inside my head. It took me less than 10 minutes to work the whole thing out. You mean you did it in your head, Dad? The son asked, goggling. Well, not exactly, the father said. Nobody could do that, but it didn't take me long. When you've finished, tell me what you think my profit was for the day. I've got the final total written down here, and I'll tell you if you're right. Okay, ready for my next question. What does the word goggling mean? What does the word goggling mean? And I'll carry on. Matilda sat quietly. Dad, you made exactly £4,303.50 altogether. Don't butt in, the father said. Your brother and I are busy with high finance. But, Dad, shut up, the father said. Stop guessing and trying to be clever. Look at your answer, Dad, Matilda said gently. If you've done it right, it ought to be £4,303.50. Is that what you've got, Dad? The father glanced down at the paper in his hand. He seemed to stiffen. He became very quiet. There was a silence. Then he said, Say that again. £4,303.50, Matilda said. There was another silence. The father's face was beginning to go dark red. I'm sure it's right, Matilda said. You little cheat, the father suddenly shouted, pointing at her with his finger. You looked at my bit of paper. You read it off from what I've got written here. Daddy, I'm the other side of the room, Matilda said. How could I possibly see it? Don't give me that rubbish, the father shouted. Of course you looked. You must have looked. No one in the world could give the right answer just like that, especially a girl. You're a little cheat, madam. That's what you are, a cheat and a liar. At that point, the mother came in carrying a large tray on which were the 4 suppers. This time, it was fish and chips, which Mrs. Wormwood had picked up in the fish and chip shop on her way home from bingo. It seemed that bingo afternoons left her so exhausted, both physically and emotionally, that she never had enough energy left to cook an evening meal. So, if it wasn't TV dinners, it had to be fish and chips. What are you looking so red in the face about, Harry? She said, as she put the tray down on the coffee table. Your daughter is a cheat and a liar, the father said, taking his plate of fish and placing it on his knees. Turn the telly on, and let's not have any more talk. Right, that's the end of the chapter, and I've got one last question for you. Why did Mrs. Wormwood pick fish and chips for supper that evening? Why did Mrs. Wormwood pick fish and chips for supper that evening? Have a read, write down your answer. Also remember, your answer shouldn't start with because, okay? Once you've finished, I will repeat the questions and tell you the answers and you can mark them. Right, here we go. The first question was, what does the word asinine mean? We'll go right up and see where the word came in the text. Here we go. It's right here. It's underlined as well. It said, but the fact remained that any 5-year-old girl in any family was always obliged to do as she was told, however asinine the orders might be. So the word asinine means extremely stupid or foolish. If your answer was something similar to mine, you can mark it right. The next question was, what did Matilda do to help her feel better whenever her parents were unfair or beastly to her? So when I've said the word beastly, that's a hint because that word appeared in the text as well. It is right, it's right on the top here. So, but the new game she had invented of punishing one or both of them each time they were beastly to her made her life more or less bearable. So that's what she did. She planned and executed punishments for her parents whenever she got upset or whenever she was frustrated by them. Question number 3 was find and copy one word that shows that Matilda did not enjoy her evening meal. That word is right here, forced. Thus, she was always forced to eat her evening meals out of TV dinner trays in front of the dreaded box. So she clearly didn't enjoy them. She didn't want to sit there and have her meal in front of the TV. She was always forced. That tells us, this word tells us that she didn't enjoy her evening meals. The next question was, what does the term safety valve mean? It's right here, it's underlined. I'll read the sentence. Her safety valve, the thing that prevented her from going round the bend, was the fun of devising and dishing out these splendid punishments. So it does give you a hint what this term implies actually. It was safety valve, is used as a means of giving harmless vent to feelings of tension or stress or frustration. So safety valve meant that it was a way to let out or vent out Matilda's frustration from her parents. Okay, my next question was, why was Mr. Wormwood in a good mood? That was on the next page. Here we go. It says, well, my boy, he said, your father's had a most successful day. He is a lot richer tonight than he was this morning. He has sold no less than 5 cars, each one at a tidy profit. So that tells us Mr. Wormwood was happy because he had a good, successful day. He sold 5 cars and had a good profit, which made him in a good mood. Okay, question number 6 was, why was Mr. Wormwood trying to teach his son arithmetic? Okay, here we go. I think that is right here in this paragraph. Here, listen, boy, he said, addressing the son and ignoring Matilda. Seeing as you'll be going into this business with me one day, you've got to know how to add up the profits you make at the end of each day. So that is why he emphasized and he wanted his son to learn and know arithmetic, because he told him that he would be joining his father once he grows up, and it's important to have good arithmetic skills for the business to add up the profits. So if you've got that answer, if you've explained it well, mark it, right? Right, my next question was, what does the word nifty mean? I think that was on the next page. Yeah, it was right here. Okay, this paragraph. £999.50, the father said, and that, by the way, is another of my nifty little tricks to diddle the customer. So nifty, the word, means particularly good or skillful or effective way. So if you've got one of these words, good, skillful, or effective, your answer is correct. That's what he meant, that it was a very highly skillful little trick that he always played on the customer. The next question was, what does the word goggling mean? The word goggling was on the next page, right here, over here. You mean you did it in your head, Dad? The son asked, goggling. So the word goggling means when you look with wide open eyes, typically in amazement. So he was amazed by his dad and he had wide open eyes. That's what it means. If you've got that, please mark it right. And my last question was, why did Mrs. Wormwood pick fish and chips for supper that evening? That was towards the end, right here. It seemed that bingo afternoons left her so exhausted, both physically and emotionally, that she never had enough energy left to cook an evening meal. So if it wasn't TV dinners, it had to be fish and chips. So the answer is that she was always exhausted from the bingo afternoons and she didn't have any energy left to cook supper that evening, which is why they had fish and chips for supper that evening. Okay, I hope you got most of the answers right. If you didn't, that's all right. It's just practicing reading again and again and trying to understand what the question means. I'll see you next time. All of you, take good care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. Bye.